right, this next factoring pattern is factoring perfect square trinomials. Now the disclaimer is, do not get weirded out by these problems. You can still factor these with other methods, so if you don't recognize the factoring pattern, it's perfectly okay. You still have an excellent chance of getting all of the problems correct. This is just a shortcut for only a specific handful of problems, and it's only if you recognize the factoring pattern. And again, don't beat yourself up if you don't. So here is the pattern. If you recognize it, you have a shortcut. If not, you've got a little extra work to do, but no big deal. All right, in order to identify a perfect square trinomial, so you need to look at the first and last terms. Do the first terms and the last terms, are they perfect squares? Yes. Awesome. Next, I want you to take the square root of each one of those terms. Square root of x squared is x. Square root of 9 is 3. And so far there. You're then going to multiply those two things together. And then, not randomly, but a constant, you are going to double it. And notice we get 6x. And not coincidentally, 6x is also the middle term. If, after you take the square root of your first term and your last term, and you multiply them together and double it, you get the same value as the middle term, you have everything you need to get a perfect square trinomial, and you can shortcut this problem. The answer to this problem is just going to be x plus 3 times x plus 3, otherwise known as x plus 3 squared. So hence you get the perfect square that gives you a trinomial. Now everybody's like, where do you get the x? Where do you get the 3? They come from the square root of your first term, they come from the square root of your last term. But again, it only works if those two terms are perfect squares and their double of their product is the middle term. So I'm going to skip down to the third one. X squared minus 10x plus 25. Again, you are still welcome to use the x, find me factors of 25 that add to give you negative 10. You'll still get the same answer. But if you recognize this pattern, you just get a shortcut. Perfect square, square root. What is the product of those two? What is that doubled? Hey, it equals the middle term. Kind of. That negative's going to play a role here in a moment. So, yep, works enough. As long as it gives me that value, I'll deal with the sign in a moment. So now you can shortcut. There's your x, there's your 5, there's your 5. But because that's a negative 10, they both become minus. Which again, you can shortcut and write x minus 5 squared. If you have a perfect square trinomial, it will always factor to a perfect square. Again, don't weird out. If you don't see the pattern, it's okay.